Michael Popok, Legal AF. Boris Epshteyn. I'm talking about him again because he's in the news again. It's not enough that he's an unindicted co-conspirator in two separate indictments, one by Jack Smith on the election interference pending before Judge Chutkan against Donald Trump, where he's co-conspirator number 6, but he's also unindicted co-conspirator number 3 in Fani Willis's sprawling, racketeering, organized crime-based indictment against Donald Trump and 18 others. Yet he's skated by again without getting indicted. It's even more remarkable that he's been able to kind of dance through the raindrops without getting wet, because we just got today the special purpose grand jury, the advisory non-indicting grand jury that was in session for 7 months ending in June. We just got their report released today by the judge that oversees that grand jury, Judge McBurney. It's now on the docket. We got our hot little hands on it, 28 pages. And I'm going to talk about it along with my colleagues in a lot of different ways. We can slice it a lot of different ways, but one way is how did Boris Epshteyn avoid being indicted? Because in it, the special purpose grand jury said, indict Boris Epshteyn, not just for the things that we thought were indictable, like his coordination and role as the ringleader of the fake elector scheme, straddling the fence between the Trump campaign and the Trump White House, between the West Wing and the Trump campaign. The person in the middle, the person doing the bidding for the president, the then President Trump, Boris Epshteyn. He's the one that had connection with John Eastman, with Ken Chesbrough, with their memos, got them into the hands of Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, and Jenna Ellis, coordinated all of them, coordinated with attorneys around the country, like in Arizona, to implement the fake elector scandal. That all roads lead back to Boris Epshteyn, who is still Donald Trump's attorney, still involved with his criminal defense, bringing in criminal defense lawyers. Both these prosecutors so far have let him not get indicted. I'll give you my speculation as to why at the end of the hot take, but let's focus on him for a minute. Two major involvements we know from the news, and one he's readily admitted to. I'm going to show you a clip from Ari Melber last year where he lies in the clip, and I'll tell you why, but he's out there saying, sure, I arranged the alternate slate of electors. Totally appropriate thing to do. Hawaii, 1960. We'll talk about that in a minute. All that's bullshit. Now, you've got his involvement with the fake elector scandal. We always sort of knew that he was a coordinator. I mean, the New York Times has been coming out with emails between Boris Epshteyn and Arizona lawyers and Arizona and Michigan people and Pennsylvania people, the battleground states, for a long, long time. We knew that was coming. We knew, for instance, that Boris Epshteyn with Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis and others, we have a photo of it. We'll put it up right now. We know that he was there in front of the Republican National Committee lying about the election, saying that there was election fraud in the battleground states when there was not. That was part of the scheme. That was the part of the attempt to legitimize the fraud and the coup. We knew that. What we didn't know until we got our hands on the special purpose grand jury report is that Boris Epshteyn is tied to the Coffee County, Georgia, espionage and stealing of election data. When I say stealing, it was given by the Coffee County officials. Kathy Latham, who's been indicted, opened the door to the robbers. It was like Watergate, except they let everybody in during broad daylight and allowed them willingly, gave them a cup of coffee while they downloaded confidential election data about voters like you and me, Republican, Democratic, and Independent. What we didn't know until today is that it's obvious that the special purpose grand jury got evidence presented to them from investigators, from 75 witnesses, from documents and data, from videos, that Boris Epshteyn was involved with the Coffee County download and breach of cybersecurity around that data and the use of that data. My gut is he used the data, got a hold of some things that maybe looked like it was fraud when it wasn't, and then gave that to the lawyers around the country to use in their lawsuits, again, lawsuits that went 0 and 70 for Donald Trump. But his use of it obviously caught the attention of the special purpose grand jury in their advisory role, and they said, when you get Fani Willis, if you're going to indict about Coffee County, which she did, include Boris Epshteyn. He missed it again. He missed getting indicted again, but he is mentioned, and we all pieced it together as unindicted co-conspirator for now, number 3 in Fani Willis's indictment. And again, if you're playing the Trump trial game at home, it's Boris Epshteyn is unindicted co-conspirator number 6 in Jack Smith's indictment of Donald Trump on the 4 counts of conspiracy pending in the District of Columbia. But when you pull back the curtain, you see a sort of out of control gatekeeper for Donald Trump that gave in to Donald Trump's worst instincts and urges, along with Mark Meadows, and put them into action, which almost toppled democracy. Let's watch a clip of Boris Epshteyn brazenly declaring that he was involved with a fake elector scheme.
I'll read it to you. This is Chairman Maddock, quote, "We fought to seat the electors. The Trump campaign asked us to do that." Did you ever make calls like that regarding what you're calling these alternate electors?
I was quoted in the Washington Post in the last 24 hours. Yes, I was part of the process to make sure there were alternate electors for when, as we hoped, the challenges to the seated electors would be heard and would be successful per the 12th Amendment of the Constitution and the Electoral Count Act.
All right, you have it right there. To most observers, he just admitted that he's participated in a coup. Why hasn't he been indicted? Why has he been mentioned, not once, but twice, as a co-conspirator, and so far hasn't faced the music? There's only one of 2 explanations. One, he's somehow cooperating with Jack Smith or Fani Willis. I don't think that's the case, for many reasons. He still appears with Donald Trump at criminal proceedings. He did in New York. He did in Washington. He helped bring in the criminal defense team for Donald Trump recently. I don't think so. I think he's still inside with Donald Trump. It's still respected by Donald Trump, and he's an insider. I don't think so. Second reason is that because of the attorney-client relationships, and they haven't yet been able to strip away his attorney-client privilege and make him cooperate, they don't want to yet bring him in, although they're using the pressure of the indictments and his being mentioned, including today, to bring it to bear on him to get him to flip on Donald Trump. I also think that's unlikely. Boris Epshteyn, as you could see from the clip, is a true believer. He's drank all the Kool-Aid in terms of the Donald Trump cult. And there's been reporting by Michael Cohen, who's on our podcasts, who's on our MeidasTouch network, who worked with Boris Epshteyn when he was a little younger version of him, and said he's just a hanger-on or bootlicker wannabe. He just wants to get as close to Donald Trump as possible, and thinks that his proximity to former power somehow inures to his own personal benefit. But he's doubled down on his relationship with Donald Trump, and I don't think there's any way back now. But we'll now that there's this third shoe has dropped, right? Boris Epshteyn gets indicted by Jack Smith, gets mentioned as a co-conspirator by Jack Smith. He gets mentioned, a couple weeks ago as a co-conspirator in Fani Willis. And now we know the special purpose grand jury wanted to tie him to Coffee County and the downloading of the election data. I mean, there's going to have to be more chatter in the prosecutor's offices about why he's been allowed, as of right now, to skate by, right? And hasn't had to face the music. We'll follow this and other developments related to Boris Epshteyn and his possible criminal jeopardy. Only one place, the MeidasTouch Network on YouTube, right here. Help the MeidasTouch Network with a free subscription to get to 2 million. 2 million free subscribers right now. We're getting there. We're close to it. Help them get there. It helps. What helps me is give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. Helps with the ratings, if you will, related to these kind of hot takes. I do hot takes like this one about every day. Sometimes it feels like every hour, depending upon developments at that intersection of U.S. law and politics. We tie it all together in a podcast. If you like hot takes, you're going to love the podcast. It's called Legal AF. Yes, it's what you think. It's on Wednesdays and Saturdays. I co-anchor it with Karen Friedman Agnifilo in the midweek, Ben Meiselas on Saturdays. And it's the two of us using our 75 years of legal experience to piece it all together. We catch it, we explode it, we examine it, and we tell it to you straight without blowing smoke or sunshine. That only happens one place, the MeidasTouch Network. I'm Michael Popok. Until that next hot take, for Legal AF.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.